welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I will be your host for this morning, or this evening, or this afternoon, or whenever you happen to be listening, because after all, it is your podcast. So, joining me today, I was going to say it's repeat offender, but it's not, because the company's kind of like a repeat offender, because we have had people on before from this organisation. But joining me today is AJ Lambeth from Kolossal Games. And Kolossal Games are running a KickStarter at the moment called Kami-sama. So we thought it'd be a good idea to get him on, have a chat, and find out more about this fabulous game, which is doing some good numbers on Kickstarter at the moment. So, hello AJ.
Hey Richard, glad to be here.
I'm delighted you're here. I think Kira and Mark have fed you a whole pile of lies about about how friendly and how relaxed and how kind of easy this is going to be.
I'm going to have some words with him.
I think there's going to be potentially a meeting and potentially disciplinaries, but it's entirely up to you. But no, thank you for coming on. We're going to be talking a bit about Kami-sama.
Correct.
Which is currently on Kickstarter, and you're double funded, almost.
Yes, right now we are at 57,000 looking at it at the time of the recording, and our original goal was only 30, so we're just 80 to 90%. I can't do math this.
You're cruising, so it's good. It's good. I guess for people who haven't listened before, thank you for joining us. The reason that we do this is because we don't think there's enough kind of podcasts out there about board games. And the second reason that we do this is because when Mark and Kira came on last time to talk about Western Legends, we had a lot of fun, and when they said, do you want to go and speak to AJ about Kami-sama, I just had to say yes. You know, there's no way I was going to refuse to have a conversation. So again, thank you for kind of coming on. Now, what we like to do is we like to find out a little bit about somebody's past involvement with a hobby. So we like to kind of, I guess, stare back into the mist of the past. We like to look at the present before we kind of scurry off into the future. So do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about your history with a hobby, then, AJ?
Well, I'm still fairly new to the design portion of the hobby. I kind of found board games after a Magic tournament at a local store. The owner just kind of threw a box of Arkham Horror right in front of me.
Okay.
And, well, we used to hang out there a lot, so it was just kind of a casual thing. We were in high school and had nowhere else to go, so we just hung out in the store. It's like, just play this. I'm tired of teaching you guys Magic all the time, or playing. So we ended up kind of stumbling through a game of that. I'm sure we botched every roll you possibly could because we had never played a game like that. And I ended up going home with a copy of Arkham Horror that night and torturing my girlfriend.
There we go, police. We've got it on tape. This.
Well, luckily it was a co-op game. She was tired of playing Magic with me because just one-on-one, and I've been playing in tournaments, so it was a little bit vicious even when I tried not to be. So this was the first time, we're working as a team and we need to stop Cthulhu and all that fun stuff. That and the collection aspect, again, this was just new for us. Look at all these expansions and characters, and oh man, it's all the extra money I had went into getting everything I could for Arkham Horror.
Do you still have it? Do you still have the game?
I have it in a giant wooden chest, specially made for it, underneath my bed.
So you actually went all in then?
I sold some collectibles in my house just to buy the chest, and I have everything except for the special Penny Arcade promotion characters that came out 10 years ago.
Is that something that you're kind of searching for then?
Kind of. I'm big on not using eBay because I like the thrill of the hunt. So, whenever I'm at a con or something, I'm just running around do you have this? And just, shaking down everyone in a Harrison Ford fashion. It's give me the cards!
Are you the type of guy that if, you know how you get the kind of the Kickstarters for like I'm trying to think, the Kickstarters where you get like, say, the Dice Tower come out with kind of like these exclusives. If there was like an Arkham Horror there and it said you had to pledge like the top tier to get it, you'd be like all over it.
Yes. That's actually an issue with the Dice Tower one recently, because I also went into Arcadia Quest, and as you know, there's a whole mess of exclusives. But luckily, my boss hooked me up recently with the Tomeric figure that I was missing. Because again, I don't want to go onto eBay. Nothing against eBay, but I like the thrill of the hunt. And he was able to... Or he talked to somebody over there recently and got me one. But now I'm on the hunt for this year's Dice Tower. They did it to me again. And I'm missing Chuck. So you'll see me at the next convention just kind of quickly searching around each of the tables. Do you have Chuck? Have you seen Chuck?
You're serious as well. You're going to be doing this. This is going to be, regardless if they say, here's the next big game. You can get a full day with the next game and we'll give you... Here's a copy, and it's sealed. In fact, have 2 copies. Keep one for being sealed. The 7th Continent rep comes up to you. It says, AJ, we like the cut of your jib. Have a sealed copy. Have all the expansions. You just take that away. It's never going. It's not only exclusive to Kickstarter. It's exclusive to you. There's only one version. There's only one version of this kind of thing. And you're gonna be like, no. There's a Chuck over there. I gotta go get my Chuck.
I gotta complete that collection.
Bye. No, you hang up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have nowhere else to go.
So, did you? So you've got you pretty much got kind of like every single thing that's kind of going on then, or every single thing that's going with Arkham Horror, except for a couple of kind of exclusives. Do you still play it then? I mean, do you have a version that you kind of keep nice, and do you have a scuffier version that you get out and still kind of play?
I have just the scuffier version because my wife won't let me get stuff to just keep a nice pristine condition, which is sad because I used to be a comic book collector as well. Mm-hmm. And that was, I always wanted those near mint condition. She's like, no, if you get stuff, it has to be used. So, I only have the one copy and it's used, and until it is completely unusable, I will not be getting a new one.
Really?
Luckily it's still in print though.
That's exactly. Well, have you not kind of like maybe got an emergency stash somewhere, kind of just in case?
I have ran into Richard Linnaeus, so he is kind of my emergency stash. I had breakfast with him once, and I actually asked him, it's like, are you going to make an Arkham Horror 2.0? He's like, well, people have to stop buying the first one before it happens. So I'm like,
so you've got
I want to see the game again.
You've got like a direct line then.
Yeah, I haven't met Kevin Wilson, the other designer, but I did see him from across the room at a convention, and my eyes got wide, and he was wondering why somebody was staring at him.
Because the restraining order's not kicked in because they've not found out who you are. You got to watch because this is all going to come out. Everybody's going to know.
I'm okay with that. Then you can always say, hi, AJ, from across the room. I'm still staring.
Exactly. It's looking like you've not changed your contact lenses for about 4 days. It's like that. It's like, hi, can I help you? I love you. Okay, that's nice. So, I mean, is it other game? You're in a mist, you're in a haze, you've gone. We've lost AJ, everyone. He's thinking about Arkham Horror. Is there any other games that you kind of hold in as high esteem, or I mean, are you just the guy that has Arkham Horror and that's it? You don't have any other games at all in the collection?
Oh no. The only other game I've really rated super high is the one I mentioned earlier, Arcadia Quest, and that's mostly because I get to the table so much. I love the game. I can play it with just about anyone because of its accessibility, and yeah, I just love that one.
But what's with it? I mean, because I hear, who's it? Michael May, that to complete that game, he loves Arcadia Quest, but I hear the people that play it absolutely adore it with a passion. I hear it kind of brought up occasionally, but what is it about Arcadia Quest that you're like, this is my jam? This isn't only my jam, it's also my bread, it's my butter, it's my cup of coffee, it's my morning toast kind of thing,
It's a dungeon crawler that's open to everyone. I mean, you're not sitting there thinking about just movement, like in some other stuff. Like Mage Knight, I'm exercising whenever it's not my turn. It's like, okay, if I sacrifice this card and this card and this card, then I can move 3 spaces, and then I'll be right next to the city. Whereas Arcadia Quest is like, okay, I can jump over that guy, stab that guy in the back, and that'll complete the quest, and hopefully in the game. It's just lots of exciting decisions pretty much every turn. And I love that, and it's because it is so simple. You're lost in the board instead of what's going on in your hand or what are on your tableau. You're watching the world. And the miniatures, because Cool Mini are not as great table presence with their stuff, allows you to get further lost in that world.
Yeah, I must admit I do have quite a lot of Super Dungeon Explorer.
Oh yes, another great game.
And it's a really, really good fun game, but it's light enough that I could bring the kids in and say, so how'd you play it? And it's like, well, see that monster there? Roll your dice, hit him. And that's kind of as easy as it went. And then, what happens when I hit him? Well, you get this, and then you power up this tract, and then you get more stuff, and then you get all these cards, and then there's on the minis themselves are absolutely kind of stunning looking. But I mean, have you gone as far as painting the minis?
Yes. Actually, I recently had a Lord of the Rings marathon with my wife, where we just sat there and painted while we watched the movies. It's very relaxing. I'm bad at painting, but I love doing it.
Have you gone? Is it bright colours that you go for, or do you try to go for as close to kind of like the representation in the rule books and stuff, or do you splash it a bit and go kind of like in a different direction?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about Arcadia Quest when I chose to paint it instead of like my Arkham Horror miniatures, is that it is bright colors, and there's a lot of like it uses the same color palettes a lot instead of like highly detailed in shadow. So you feel a little bit more comfortable in that you are matching the cards even as a beginner painter. All right.
Okay. So, your wife sounds like she kind of plays a lot then. So is that something you've always done together? Have you always kind of like, always played games together? Is that kind of one of the things that you've always done?
Yes, she was there when I got my first big board game, and she's kind of been supporting me in the hobby ever since. When I decided to become a game designer, instead of going for my doctorate in psychology, she was like, yeah, you don't like psychology. She was there to support me of jumping off that track, and we've just always been playing together. It's my constant person. I can at least get one person at the table to play this stuff with me.
So you like Arkham Horror and you did psychology?
Yeah. I actually ended up playing the psychologist like constantly when we started the game. I can't remember her name right now. I see her picture in my mind, but I can't remember her name.
But that's a bit of a. I mean, you said talking about going for your doctorate. She already had your degree.
My bachelor's, yeah.
You got the certificate. You would have worn the gown and the hat and got your picture and listened to the speech about fulfilling your life, and then you're about to go for it. You're thinking about going for the doctorate, and then you go down the games design path instead.
Who needs money? I'd rather live in poverty. No, it's we were just at that point. You've been in school for 20 years? It's your entire life, and you've just never got to do anything else. So that's when we just kind of reevaluated things. Like, well, what can we do to actually enjoy life for once? And that's when we ended up moving to Japan.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. So when did you do that?
About 6 months after we graduated from college. We just sat down and had to talk because I was still filling out applications in college. So we dropped that. She's the one that applied to, or for the programs to go over there and teach English. And I was just going to go over on a visa and try and find work while I was there. But it's something, we were both Japanophiles. We loved watching anime, studying culture, cooking Japanese cuisine, just because what else are you going to do for fun? That's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And we ended up making it over there and spent a year just falling in love with Japan even more. Didn't want to come back, but unfortunately you can't really have a career over there. It's just one thing. You can be a teacher, that's it. And I wanted to start game design.
Did you were you always kind of picking away at designs? I mean, while you were enjoying kind of Arkham Horror, while you were playing Arcadia Quest, was there the AJ Lambeth kind of pad and pen sitting to the side with some rules being written down, white pieces of card, the occasional counter? I mean, had you been doing it kind of a long time, or was it something you thought, actually, let's see where we go with this?
I didn't really touch it while I was in college, just because there was no time. If I had any free time, it was studying, trying to get my grades or keep them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was mostly like once I decided not to go for my doctorate, I'm like, all right, let's try game design. That sounds like fun. And ended up being a super challenging path at first, because I like to study. I want to know the material.
Yeah.
So I was just reading all these books, listening to every podcast I could, studying the BGG forums, and just throwing myself into the rabbit's hole as far as I could, just to understand before I really attempted to put anything out there. Which was the wrong way. Really, you should just start making games right from the get-go.
Yeah, yeah. Again, if you've come from a psychology background where you've got to understand certain kind of theories and practices and things like that, then I guess the natural thing is to pick up and see, well, what have other people kind of done before? What's the kind of the best practice? What should I do here? What should I do there? And I guess I don't know. I wouldn't imagine if I went and seen like a therapist and you said, well, how did you learn how to do this? It's like, you know what? I just woke up one day and I just decided I can be a psychotherapist. I just opened my doors. I got a nice comfortable chair that you're sitting in. I got myself a set of pens and a pad, and let's do the healing. It doesn't. Well, so I can see kind of where you took the journey to kind of do that. How many was it difficult to get ideas? I mean, were your first kind of ideas, whether it's like, I've got this game, it's called Arkham Terror, or were the first couple of games, did you try and move away completely from what you'd played with Arcadia Quest and Arkham Horror, like that?
The first ideas, I was just kind of going off mechanics. It's hard to say what started me off in what direction. At first, I was always bursting with ideas, just because I didn't know what was wrong or why certain things didn't work. So I'm like, what if we did this? I think the first one was like a planetary game where you're just racing to mine all the minerals and like attract settlers to your areas, and it just a whole bunch of pitfalls. And now I'm a little bit more tempered with ideas, and I'm able to take them further because of that, instead of just wasting a little bit of time on ideas that aren't very exciting too. Especially Kolossal is a Kickstarter-based company, so whenever I'm first thinking about games, I'm like, is this theme exciting? Does this sound like something I can actually pitch, given that, or if all the mechanics are finished?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Kolossal Games presents, is this glass half full or half empty?
No, that's Kickstarter. I mean, fortunately, the industry as a whole is kind of progressing forward in a positive direction, and people expect better games. So you have to make sure you're putting out the best. And that's our first test when we're looking at games is this amazing? Is this astounding? We can't look at just subpar games anymore.
Yeah. Are you the type of person that takes mechanics from your ideas and then melds them together into newer games? I've heard of some designers that will be playtesting one game and then say, well, actually the whole idea doesn't seem to gel together, but I can take this kind of card drafting mechanic and I can put it in this other idea for a game that I have.
I can't say that's popped up really in any of my designs. Especially when I'm like looking at other people's stuff, because I'm too scared of them saying like, well, Kolossal took my stuff. But I mean, I'm definitely looking at other, like, especially published games for ideas. Like Richard Garfield got King of Tokyo from playing Yahtzee.
Yeah. What about your own ideas? Have you kind of taken previous mechanics that you've thought about and then put them into newer ideas for yourself then as well? Are you kind of taking inspiration and using it in other places?
Yeah, actually, like the round board for Kami-sama is from a space game that I had taken a whack at like a year beforehand. The rotating board originally was like a clear board, and there was a round board underneath that rotated with planets on it, so your spaceship may crash into planets if you weren't factoring in gravity as the planets spun around the sun. Mm-hmm. And I got rid of the whole second board that held the spaceships because that was just really hard to prototype. And I'm like, oh, what if we just cut into 4 sections and made it seasons?
Oh, right, okay.
And then I used my inspiration while I was living in Japan because I just fell in love with Shintoism. It just kind of, I love the idea of you being a kami or a spirit and just using your influence or power over the land to influence these villages and bring in followers. And then the seasons rotated, or the board rotated, and kept you locked into one section at a time. Originally, you were like locked into a different season. So because kami in that version like viewed time a little bit differently than humans. So I was in winter, you'd be in summer. And if I was a harvest spirit, my powers were awful while I was in winter. There was no harvest going on. But during fall, I was a badass.
So, I take it, I mean, it sounds to me like the Japanese influence kind of really, is all the way through kind of Kami-sama as a game itself. I mean, when was the moment you kind of, like, you sat down and went, well, this is not only a game that's going to go somewhere, this is a game that's definitely going to kind of work. I mean, was there a lot of changes between the game that you pitched to Kolossal versus the kind of the final version that's sitting on Kickstarter just now?
The core game is definitely there. I mean, the idea of the rotating board, separate villages, and spreading your influence, that's all there. And every kami having unique abilities. But we definitely made the game a lot friendlier in ways so that people are processing all the information and following victory. Because like the original one, it was a race game. It was first person with 25 influence on the board wins. So it was very cutthroat when you were just like trying to get this, like, I'm taking you down, and you're always picking on the leader, and it was more of when can you combo into the victory. I was a huge Magic player, so I loved comboing all my abilities together.
Right, okay, yeah. Was it difficult to move away from that then? I mean, when you've got your own idea, when you've invested in much time, are you having to learn to kind of accept somebody's going to come in and want to make changes in order to see what they can improve in it then?
Since I was a new designer, I just I was open to pretty much everyone's idea, especially Travis, who's one who looked at it and is a veteran of the industry. And I mean, he presents reasons why he wants to do this. It's not like gives you a call one day. It's like, hey, I changed it to 3 abilities or whatever. So,
exactly.
Trashed all that work. No, it's just like, here's where I want to move, why I want to move it, and then ask you to, and then we work together to recreate those kami. So, and that's the philosophy we use for all of our designers. It's like, here's what we'd like to do, why we want to do it, because it's not just, we're borrowing somebody else's dream and kind of making it a reality, but we want to make sure that they're along for the ride, and that's why I wanted to come and work for Kolossal, why I'm here, is I know how important game design is to some people. It's what you want to do. It's what you think about and just listen to in the car rides and think about in the showers or while you're brushing your teeth. So we want to be very respectful of everyone's dreams. That's how they treated Kami-sama, and that's what I want to do for everyone else.
How do you get from, a couple of, saying, okay, I'm going to go into game design, to getting a job with Kolossal? Because there'll be guys, look, okay, there's going to be people who are going to be listening to this who have 3 pads of A4 paper, bags of counters, meeples and everything, and they've been looking at trying to get into the industry. They're probably thinking about hitting a Kickstarter next year. What was your process for kind of getting into Kolossal? I mean, had you pitched Kami-sama to a couple of places, or did you just rock up to Kolossal and say, look, you're the guys I want to look at making this game? How did that kind of happen?
No, I had pitched the game actually while I was in Japan because I had no resources, no startup money to like get art and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, let's pitch it to somebody because I just want to see my name on a box. I want to know that I made something in the world and that it exists.
Yeah.
So I was pitching the game, but I never got anywhere. I mean, most people didn't respond, or if it was, it's just like, yeah, our schedule's full, or no, this is just too crazy. I mean, why is the board rotating? That's not supposed to happen. Which is what Travis was attracted to, is how different it was, because the game, when you put that round board out on the table, people just kind of like stop and turn their heads like, what is that? I mean, my weakness ended up being the strength in the end for Kickstarter and just why Kolossal took on the game. I hadn't really pitched a lot in person. In fact, when I met Travis, that was my first big board gaming convention.
Wow.
Before that, it was like small little doodads and meetups with my local gaming group in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
So I was really nervous.
So where did you meet Travis? Was it a Gen Con then, or
Geekway to the West?
All right, cool. Okay. Did you have to psych yourself up? Did you know did you already kind of pre-arrange the appointment, or did you kind of rock up, kind of saying, "Well, I'm just going to go up and see what he says"?
Well, it was actually part of a contest.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I was already ecstatic and had barely slept the night before because I drove into St. Louis, so I was pretty exhausted. I had worked that day, drove into St. Louis, missed the first day of the convention.
Oh, wow.
And then, met afterwards.
So the first thing that Travis sees is this guy with a box under his arm, slight black rings marks under his eyes, kind of coffee cup in the other hand.
Red Bull is the reason I have a job. But it was actually way later down the road that we really dug into Kami-sama. Because at first the game did not do well presenting there. It was way later down the road after Kolossal was started that I actually heard back from Travis.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah, I thought the game was kaput for a while.
Did you get kind of like a job at that point then? Did you continued on the game design thing, or did you put something else to one side?
Oh, the job came after like 2 months of me working part-time. Like, I had my full-time job, I had a weekend job, and then every day I went home and Skyped Travis and worked on the game, our tabletop simulator. Mm-hmm. So that we could both be playing the game and working through these edits together. But yeah, I was basically up till midnight almost every day just working on the game and then working my other jobs. So It was just kind of months of crazy stress and just, again, coffee and Red Bull keeping me alive. But it worked out because it helped show my dedication to working on games.
Yeah. I mean, I take it you still remember the point where Travis said, like, okay, we've got something here. Why don't you kind of shimmy on down and kind of join the company?
Oh, I was ecstatic. I was actually, I was wanting to move out of Springfield before that, so this was just a godsend for me. I'm like, I can get paid to play games? Which actually ended up not being what it is. Like, playing games is only a fraction of the job. But at the time, yes, I was like, yes! I was running around just super hyped. Maybe because, again, of the Red Bull, but I was flying.
You would have had the Red Bull crash. Your wife would have watched you just kind of running back, going, I got a job! I'll put him to bed. Can someone help me put AJ to bed? Poor boy's tuckered out. He got a job. He's a game designer now. Yeah, it's Kolossal. Yeah, they're good.
Shoot.
Travis, yeah, he's good. Yeah, yes, yeah, it's that game I told you about. Yeah. But he's fallen on my leg, so I'm not going to be able to get up.
Yeah, she wanted to just leave me wherever I fell.
just bury me where I fall. So, was it? I mean, you must be handing in your kind of your notice to your job, and I mean, I mean, how close were you to the kind of? I take it, did you have to move? House? Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up leaving the state, which I was excited about. I mean, Springfield, Missouri, there's a wonderful gaming group down there, the 417 Gamers, and I actually found out they're pretty serious compared to the gaming groups I've ran into in other places, simply because they played those huge games like Mega Civilization, where you're spending 14 hours playing one game. And I haven't really got to do that outside of conventions, so I'm sad. But there wasn't a lot of game design going on in the area. A lot of it I was just on the forums and trying to talk to the people and working again on Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia, just making things work that way, trying to get my name out there and work with other people.
I mean, did you find the game community? I mean, one of the things that still gets leveled at the game community is that it's still very, very open. That still, you can rock up and say, "Here's my game design," and you don't get somebody turning around and going, "Don't be stupid, go away." But people are kind of welcome and are willing to look at your mechanics in the game and, let me have a shot. Did you find that you got that from the community, that people were willing to look at, Kami-sama and kind of offer feedback, and did you get to play test it and stuff like that as well?
Yes, it's a very open community if you're willing to put in the work. I mean, you need to play test other people's games. A lot of the times when I was just talking to people online or setting up meetings in the software, it was always, okay, we would randomly draw one of the games, start there, and then we would each stay until we played each of the games. And if you left early, you better have a good reason, otherwise you weren't invited back to the group for future playtest sessions. Mm-hmm. So again, it was easy to get players if you're willing to sit in and listen to their games as well. And I mean, I got into these groups without really any effort or any credentials to back me up. It's just like, oh yeah, I have a game too I'd like you guys to check out. Oh, okay, welcome to the group. We're meeting at this time. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's very reciprocal. I mean, it ends up being a symbiotic relationship. Everybody benefits from it because, as a designer, it's very it can be very easy to get blinkered and almost tied into an original creation. I mean, that's the same for anything, whether it's designing a game or, writing a book or, doing anything, a piece of art, anything, making a cake, somebody coming around and actually saying, you should put some rhubarb in that would just sort that out fine and dandy. But I mean, it's kind of being able to take that kind of feedback kind of on board. Did you have involvement in Western Legends, which was obviously the first kind of Kickstarter game that Kolossal put out there, as being part of the team? Did you have any involvement in that at all?
Yes, that was pretty much my life for the first 8 months I moved out here. Yeah, I'm still kind of reviewing files and making sure everything's good, but that's one of the reasons I was hired on, is to help develop other games. Okay. Kami-sama just kind of we put it on the back burner because it was our second game. I mean, we're still visiting it as often as possible, but Western Legends was a monster of a game. I mean, open world sandbox. There's no track to keep the players on. So, yeah, I was listed as one of the developers in that game, and I was working right alongside Travis, playtesting the game each day, jumping into the spreadsheets, and kind of getting set up so that I can help Travis. So he's the president of the company. He's also our lead developer, but he can't always be there to develop. So I needed to be able to jump in there and head the projects and keep things afloat in case he's going out and making deals with other companies or doing tours or whatever else Travis does.
Yeah, so it must have been a bit of a difference, kind of saying, okay, we're going to go in, going to do Kami-sama. Oh, here's Western Legends. Okay, what I do? Well, you work on this. This is what you're doing now. You're developing, you're helping kind of development that game. Did that, by getting involved in the development of Western Legends to the level that you did that also help with the development of little tweaks to Kami-sama as well? Did that allow you to kind of look on, because you were developing what appeared to be a completely different game, did that then allow you to kind of look at Kami-sama and say, actually, maybe let's just tweak this bit while we're here, kind of thing?
It helps streamline the process on how we approach development. Like, because we're a big company, we're small, but we have a lot of games with us, is what I should say.
Yeah.
We need to be able to track a whole lot of changes, and Western Legends was a great primer for that, being able to format these spreadsheets that work for everyone and track all these play records and the proper equipment and just all that fun stuff. It was our first one to test out all these different systems and software and how we're approaching just step by step of the development process. So while I can't say that any of the parts of Western Legends made it to Kami-sama,
yeah,
how we approach development definitely did, because now when we approach Kami-sama in all of our future games, I know how to make these sheets, and we have all of our software and stuff set up, and the whole team is kind of coming together, and it's running a lot smoother now because we have some games under our belt now.
Were you very surprised, or were you, what was the mood in camp like as Western Legends kind of took off? Was it a kind of a, yay, this is doing really well, and oh my goodness, there's all these stretch goals that we're opening up that we've got to kind of develop?
No, I was excited. I mean, we had talked about a lot of these ideas for stretch goals, especially leading up to the campaign. It's like, what if we did this? And we've always wanted to do this idea, but we had to balance all this other stuff. So we were finally getting to open up that treasure trove of all the characters and abilities and extra items. Like, yay, look at all these fun things we actually wanted to play with, but couldn't until now. So it's a very exciting time during the Kickstarter. One, I mean, you're making all that extra money and proving that all your work was worth it. It's like, yes, I get to keep my job.
Yeah.
But also, all the fun little doodads that weren't streamlined enough for the base game, or at least you didn't get to the table enough to know for sure it could be in the game, you can now do and can afford to print because all that stuff isn't cheap.
Does that put extra pressure on the development team to do more rounds of playtesting?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to release anything that's going to break the game. I hate when people say, "Oh, it's a Kickstarter item; it didn't have to be tested or whatever." It's like, no, you want to make it exciting, but you want to put out a quality product.
Yeah, I mean, you became the little engine that could. I mean, let's face it. When you did, it was well over $500,000. It was almost approaching 600,000. I think it was. I'm just thinking.
575.
568, but you're close.
Oh.
It's right, it's close, but it's not what I've got on the card, AJ. I'm sorry. I was
thinking of my dream, unfortunately.
That's okay, you've missed out on the microwave, but you've still got a chance to get the car.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Luckily, at the end, you have an idea of what's balanced and what's not. So when you are approaching content at the end, it's like, oh, I can point out exactly why that won't work. So it makes all your Kickstarter stuff a lot easier to develop and design. You're not coming in out of the blue with just open fields okay, we should do this. No, that's way broken. You already have an idea of what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Did you have quite a lot of stretch goals planned out then for Western Legends?
We had a number of ideas ready in the back, stuff that we had talked about doing during the development process and went right down. It's like, there should be... I mean, a lot of the items were kind of already planned out ahead of time, and some of them even tested to a degree, but we weren't expecting that many characters and all of that extra content. The success, our campaign was a huge success, and we did have to throw in some stuff, especially as people suggested ideas that they wanted, like the bandits having their own system where each bandit has a little AI thing going on, and he has extra rewards and penalties in the fights. That was a last minute addition based on the BGG forums. So we had to quickly test that out in house, make sure that it worked. It's like, yes, we get to give them what they want. And that's such a rewarding feeling when you can get out exactly what people were asking for and try and meet all of their expectations.
And then you go in a completely, what seems to be thematically, a complete change of direction. Because normally it's commonplace for a developer to kind of stay within certain confines of types of games, like a miniature type game. There'll be game companies out there that will be releasing kind of light to casual games, You've got CMON, which do their big games. Steamforge, again, big box games. Western Legends goes, you've got Western Legends, and then you're going all the way to Kami-sama. So, tell me, let's put these other things to one side. Let's talk about Kami-sama. I mean, if somebody's looking on the project and they're looking at it going, there's big round bits of card, and I love the art, it's fantastic, but what's the game? How would you go? How would you play the game? What's the mechanics behind the game and stuff like that?
It's our 2 to 4 player area control game, which usually means that it's a little bit mean, but this game takes a whole new spin on area control because you're split up into 4 villages. And you're trying to spread your influence, and each player is playing within one village at a time. So this allows you to sit there and focus on just comboing out and using the abilities to your Kami's abilities to the best of your ability, to just find these fun little patterns that you can build and just come up with brilliant ways to knock out your opponents and place your own shrines. And it doesn't feel like you're personally attacked because you're in separate villages. And most of the time you're chasing that reward or reward card, or you're getting the favor of nature. So it's a lot more relaxing as compared to other area controls.
Do you have, because you've got a fair number of components here. You've got quite a few villages. So do the villager cards have their own powers then? Do you play what would you do in a round? I guess I'm asking AJ.
So each round, you start with a number of action cubes based on the current year. Year 1, you're starting with 3 action cubes to help lead you up to making our 5 action cubes when you have to make the most decisions. There's a nice little curve in complexity as the game goes on. But during your turn, you're going to spend the action cubes to power your different abilities. Everybody has the basic add or remove shrines, as well as 3 unique abilities to your Kami. So if I'm the Harvest Spirit, for example, I have a lot of abilities that are based around the fields where harvesting occurs. So I could just sit there and just kind of plan out, okay, I can remove one of my shrines from the field, remove extra opponents, and set me up to complete a pattern. There is a pattern that's available for each year, and completing it gives you village tokens, which are one of the best ways to gain victory points in the game. Mm-hmm. Or I can jump into the fields and the forest and the temple to gain our Raise My Favor in Nature tracks. Every Kami has to balance their favor with man and their connection to the natural world, nature, which is the other major way to gain victory points in the game. So those are your 2 major objectives you're really trying to hunt down, and you're trying to find that balance in between. It's like, which one do I complete now? Which one can I complete? And what is the best way to go about doing that? Because the board is going to rotate at the end of each round, and you're going to be playing in a different village, again, separate from your opponents.
Do you then replace the items that you had? Do you remove the items that you had before? Do they stay in the village that you've just played? And do they interrupt potential moves for the other player? Or do you essentially refresh the entire board at the end of that round?
So the board never refreshes. The shrines always stay in there, which means the first year is nice and friendly. There's lots of real estate and fields for us to just kind of place all of our stuff in. And then year 2 is when we start slitting throats, because you have to really get in there and take your opponents out. Just because there's very limited space and everybody wants the fields and the forests or to complete the patterns. It really depends on which Kami are in the game and how they're approaching victory, because there's a huge amount of asymmetry in the game. Every Kami plays different, so you've got to kind of read that. It's like, oh, Hala, the Harvest Spirit, is going for all the fields. I want to try and head her off there, or just give the fields to her. It's like, I'm walking away. Those are hers. And I'll be focusing on completing the patterns in the less fought-over sections on the board, like the stilt houses and the huts. They don't give immediate rewards, but you're more likely to keep your shrines in there, because at the end of each year, you're going to gain villagers, which give you little bonuses for your favor in nature track and straight victory points, or some of them do have little immediate triggered abilities. And you can't count out the villager victory points. A lot of people just go for the immediate favor of nature stuff, and then all of a sudden somebody gets all these high point villagers and wins the game because it's a hidden scoring mechanic. You don't know who's winning until the dust is settled at the very end and all the villagers are counted up, which helps stop that kingmaker situation you see in a lot of area controls.
Yeah. Did you have kind of replayability in mind when you were designing the game as well, making sure that people weren't just getting it to the table maybe 5, kind of 10 times before kind of seeing the same kind of patterns emerge?
Yes, with a lot of take-that games, you kind of develop a quick strategy and then you won't play the game again because you know it's like, oh, if I'm this faction, I do this, and there's only like 3 factions in the game. But anyway, with Kami-sama, we approached it with, what if every time you played the game, there was a different little mini-game and way of approaching victory, because there's so many different variations you can do with the game. We actually had to dumb down a lot of the game just to keep it simple enough to approach a different puzzle each time. That's why the game is essentially add and remove shrines, which doesn't sound that exciting until you're like, but what if you add and remove shrines and you also get seed tokens and you can use those to explode other shrines or to grow yours for victory points? Or what if every time you're doing this you gain fear tokens that you can spend it as an extra resource to power all these different abilities and mess up other people's stuff by replacing shrines and they're messing up their little pattern. So every kami has their own little mini game while still approaching the same goal as everyone. And that just gives it a lot of replayability, which was how we always wanted to approach the game and how my early iterations of the game were going. Everybody had their own way, their own abilities and way of approaching victory.
When you one of the things that's very strong on the game is the artwork. I mean, how far into the process was it that you started to see the artwork, and was it a bit of a game changer for you as a designer to see the game kind of sitting there all looking stunning, the components all kind of coloured in and everything like that? Was that kind of cool to see kind of the ideas kind of come to a full fruition?
Yeah, that's one of the most rewarding parts, is just seeing the game come together and seeing all these ideas you've had rattling around in your head for years actually like fleshed out as a real board game, no longer just those little cardboard components that you were cutting out from Hobby Lobby. We ended up seeing the artwork about a month into signing it on with Kolossal. Yeah. Because, I mean, we need to turn stuff around pretty fast, but Gunk Studios, they're very fast and very good at what they do. It was amazing. When I first made the game, I was originally imagining like oil painting stuff, because I liked the idea of like those Japanese paintings where you like see the brush strokes and stuff like that. So that's what I was wanting. But then Travis just assured me Gunk Studios does amazing work and could approach those vibrant colors that would really help sell the game and bring in the more casual gamers, because this is almost a gateway game. It's kind of right on that fence, and we wanted to make sure that they were brought in with beautiful art, and Gunk Studios is the way to go. And when I saw Hala, I believe was the first one, the Harvest Spirit, I was just in love. I couldn't believe it. She was actually here. She was her own character, not some art that I had stolen offline from my prototypes. It was actually happening, and that was one of the most exciting moments with the game, behind the scenes.
Have you thought about kind of like, you've got obviously the Awakened expansion. Have you got other expansions that you're going to are already inside your mind that you've already got kind of planned out for future?
I have ideas that I'd like to approach, but nothing that I've actually sat down and tested out and made sure that the ideas actually work. We've talked about trying to bring back the seasons, because now they're villages. We kind of want to bring back the seasons in some way with an extra board that would go underneath our player mat. And then we would need additional rules for each of the kami so that they still influenced by the different seasons. Or I've always wanted to do like a dragon kami expansion, like there's 4 different dragon gods or spirits that each interact with each other in a different way. So it had to be a 4-player exclusive. I don't know. There's lots of ideas I just kind of want to play with if the game does really well and we get enough traction for an expansion.
what's the diving in price? If, when people, obviously we'll put the link in the show notes so that we have kind of notes to show. But how much are you going to pay to get involved if you've listened along tonight and think this actually sounds right up my street? What's it going to cost you to kind of dive on in?
So the game itself is $42, and I believe it's $7 shipping if you're in the United States. So that comes up to $49, just right underneath $50. Mm-hmm. And then if you're in the UK, over in your side of the world, let's see where that is. United Nations? Nope, not United Nations. That brings it up to $53. So, just $4 more. But yeah, It starts at $42 and goes up from there for the base game. If you want to get the first expansion, which includes our little radish spirit, that's $12 additional dollars. And that introduces 4 new kami, some new villagers into the game. And each of the kami in there is... So the base game, we really kept it simple. I wanted just kind of the base kami that anybody... I didn't know if this was going to be your first board game or whatever. I tried to keep all those really simple, explaining the mechanics of the game. There's a couple of advanced ones, like Shize especially. She takes a little bit of mastery of the game to really control well. But Spirit Way is where we really got to run away with our ideas, like Daikono and placing the little radish baby tokens across the board, just trying to trick your opponent or goading your opponents into going into those spaces. That is a really fun game to play with. And Yuma's little dream deck where he gets to manipulate certain spells based on which tile is available. That's a really fun game to play with. So all these unlocked kami, and we still have some more on the way. That's where we really got to push the boundaries a bit more for people that once they played their first game, then they can really jump into it. And it's like, oh man, this is where a lot of the really creative kami are.
I mean, as I say, you've got, this countdown just now, isn't it? You've got about 5 days left when we're recording this. In a couple of sentences, why should people think about diving in to Kami-sama?
Because you get to become a spirit of nature. You get to control the elements themselves as you bash your opponents out of the village and spread your influence. What other game allows you to have such amazing area control mechanics without looking your friend in the eye and crushing their dreams at the same time? You still get to walk away as friends at the end of the day, but you still beat them.
I can't think of a better way. That sounds fantastic. As I say, we'll put the links in the show notes so that people can, click in, check out the project, and then hopefully press that button and go ahead and back. If people want to find yourself and Kolossal, where do you guys exist on the interweb nets?
So you can find both me and Kolossal on Facebook. And that's the really only social media platform I ever jump onto. But you can always find Kolossal. We have a website, just KolossalGames.com. There's an Instagram and Twitter feed where we'll constantly send pictures or talk about games in development, ones that we've recently signed, so you get an idea of what'll be hitting Kickstarter in the near future and see games as they progress. We like to take early pictures as well as the late game pictures and show you what's going on behind the scenes. Okay.
Well, as I say, we will take all this. I think I probably still have a lot of the links from the time that Mark and Kira was on. And if not, we shall make sure that they're on. Thank you very, very much for coming on, AJ. This has been very, very interesting indeed. I wish you best of luck with the campaign. You're funded, so it's definitely going to happen. It's just a question of how many of those additional little stretch goals get unlocked over the next kind of 4 or 5 days. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Richard. I really appreciate it.
Now, if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, then please jump on to the various social media platforms. You can go on to Twitter, you can go on to Facebook, you can go on to Instagram, and you'll find us if you search for We're Not Wizards. If you We're on Spotify. Spotify let us on. Fools. Actual fools. They have no idea what they've let themselves in for. But if you do use Spotify, then search for We're Not Wizards and you'll find us on there as well. Just absolutely delighted about that. You can find us on YouTube if you go to We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher and Spreaker and Acast and Podknife, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts as well. If you like what you've listened to tonight, and I think AJ has been a fantastic guest, then please consider dropping us a subscription. If you like us even more than that, consider dropping us a review. And as we say, if you are going to drop us a review, please don't give us 10 stars because that'll make us big-headed, but don't give us 1 star because that'll make us cry. Give us 5
9.9
or 5 because it's in the middle and it's average, and we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not being average tonight is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic. He is the man of the hour. It's Mr. AJ Lambeth from Kolossal Games. So thank you again, AJ, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Richard.
There's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards.
What?
Are we wizards, AJ?
I want to be.
Don't. I can cut this whole thing. I can cut this whole thing.
We're not wizards.
Brilliant. Blackmail. It's an ugly word. It's a necessary thing sometimes. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's goodbye from AJ. So goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s. And if you fancy, I don't know, getting a little bit spirited, high-spirited, low-spirited, or even turn-up-spirited, then maybe you want to check out the world of Kami-sama. That sounds like a fantastic little area control game. But until the next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.